Hey there and welcome back to my channel. Today we are moving into video number 2 in my series on slowly but surely starting to implement the science of reading research into your classroom and your instruction without overwhelm. That's the goal of these next 10 videos. It's about starting to make small incremental changes that you can do in your instruction today or tomorrow to start implementing the science of reading without feeling overwhelmed and stress. That's what I want to take out of this equation. Take away the overwhelm and stress, and let's start to make small incremental changes that will create huge gains in your students' reading. All right? First of all, if you're new here, my name is DiGilio. I was a primary teacher for 24 years, in education for 28 years, and all I want to do is help teachers improve their craft, learn, share ideas, strategies, techniques, tactics. That's what I'm all about. So please click that little that little thumbs up button, subscribe to our channel, stick with me because we've got a lot coming. All right, so let's jump in. Now, if you've been online anywhere over the last couple of years, there's a lot going on about balanced literacy, about structured literacy, about the science of reading, about guided reading, all the things. We've got 2 camps, we've got the reading wars. Woo, it's exhausting. So let's start with balanced literacy. I was a balanced literacy teacher for basically my entire career, except for the first couple of years I taught whole language. My first year was phonics, isolated skill-based instruction, and then years 2 and 3 were whole language. And I quickly, very quickly learned children couldn't read or learn to read through whole language. It was quite an interesting couple of years teaching, which led me to realize that I needed phonics. So I have been implementing and using phonics and phonemic awareness and phonological awareness in my instruction since my second year of teaching. When I quickly realized the second month into school my kids weren't learning how to read, I was like, what's happening? Because I was doing whole language. So my balanced literacy instruction wasn't kind of typical, I think, because I was heavy phonics based for my entire teaching career, but I called it balanced literacy because I believed balanced literacy was about all literacy. I digress. So what we're going to focus on today is how the words balanced literacy have basically become synonymous in the teaching world with the 3 cueing system. Now, I disagree because my balanced literacy classroom was so much more than 3 cueing systems. But unfortunately, this is the narrative that's going on. So instead of fighting people online, because I'm just too tired for that, I'm going to talk to you about how we could make some quick little shifts in our teaching so we can move away from the 3 cueing systems and we could start implementing the science of reading easily, methodically, explicitly, and with intention. So let's jump in. First thing we're going to talk about is the 3 cueing system. 3 cueing system that was, I believe it was coined by Marie Clay. I'm almost positive. I was listening to that podcast about it, but it's been been here forever, right? So basically the 3 cueing system is telling students to look at the pictures in order to figure out words they don't know in a leveled reader, right? Now, before I go on, if you haven't watched video 1 yet, please watch that first. Watch these in order because they're going to build on top of each other. So video 1, shame on you teachers, very important. Please go watch that. And it's not shame on you for the wrong reasons, so definitely watch that. Second video is about the first shift. So watch these in order. This is shift number 2. So please watch video 1. So shift number 2, we're going to change our prompts and our cues when children are reading decodable books, because we're going to start with decodable books for children that are in kindergarten and first grade that are reading levels A through F, if you're an F&P school. If you have students reading levels A through F-ish, I want you to switch out those leveled readers and I want you to move to decodables. That's what we're going to do. But let me preface by saying leveled readers are not bad. Leveled readers are not harmful. Leveled readers are not evil. Leveled readers are just basically books. They're books. But what we have to do is to take the leveled readers from A through F-ish and move them to the side and start with decodables. Leveled readers can come in a little bit later on, okay? So we're moving to decodables. So now you've got a decodable book, you're working with your small group, and a student comes to a word they don't know, okay? So if a student comes to a word they don't know, what are we going to do? Number one, we are not going to say to them, look at the picture. We want to get away from that cue. Now, many of you might look at it as eagle eye. Eagle eye, look at the picture, right? Nope, we're not going to do this anymore. This is bad. All right, we're going to get rid of it. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to start giving them decoding strategies. We want them to focus on the words. So we are going to start with this one. We are going to start with pointy porcupine. And pointy porcupine says, start at the left and point to the first letter in the word. So we're going to tell them to look at the word. We're going to point to the first letter in the word. That's the first prompt we want to use. Not look at the picture. We don't want kids looking at the pictures anymore to help them read the words on the page. We want them to look at the pictures because we love pictures. We love illustrations, but not to figure out words. We want them to first say pointy porcupine. Point to that first word in that first letter in that word. All right. Now, sometimes the cue is, what word makes sense there? What word would make sense there? So what we're doing is we're asking children to take the the context of the sentence and figure out another word that makes sense. Okay. That one I don't love. However, it does tell us that children are being contextual readers, right? If they understood what the sentence said and they can use another word that makes sense in the sentence, it means they're contextual readers and they're comprehending the sentence. But I get where the research is coming from, saying, well, why? Why do they have to think of a different word? Let's focus on the word that's there. I'm with you. I agree. So let's not say what word would make sense there. Let's say to them, let's use grapheme guppy. We want grapheme guppy to swim under the graphemes, which are letters, and you should use those words interchangeably. And I want you to think of the names of the graphemes. So let's say they're reading this book, Pat the Rat, and we come to this word home. Okay, we come to the word home, and they haven't learned CVCE words yet, but this word is here. So we're going to say, all right, my friends, pointy porcupine says point to the word, point to the first letter in the word. And then we're going to go to grapheme guppy. Grapheme guppy says to slide your finger and swim under the word and think of what letters they are. Well, that's an H, that's an O, that's an M, and that's an E. All right, I now know the letters in the words. I know the graphemes. What's next? Let's move to phoneme frog. Hop on each grapheme and say the phoneme or the sound. So we want to hop. We're going to be phoneme frog, and let's hop. We're going to hop from sound to sound to sound. All right, now, if they don't know CVCE words yet, we could say to them, this one might be a little tricky. So before we hop, let me show you something. So what I'll do right now is I'll say, before we become phoneme frogs, let me show you something. We know the graphemes were H, O, M, and E because grapheme guppy told us to look at the graphemes or the letters. So we know H is here. So we know what sound does H make? Say it again. All right. What sound does M make? So we know we have a and we have so far. Now this O, they might know short O. So they might say, oh, I know what O is. It's ah. You're right. O does make the ah sound. You're right. Very good. But in this word, we have something special here. We have an E at the end, and it's magical. It's actually called the magic E. And the magic E makes the O say its name. So in this word, home, in this word, the O is O. Watch me. O, O, home. This word is home. Do it with me. O, O, home. And you know what? E, what sound does E make? Oh, they might say eh or E. Good. But in this word, the E is silent because E has lots of jobs. And we're going to go into that. But for this word, we don't hear the E. We just hear O, Home. So I know this word is home. This is a home for Pat. So that second cue, we don't want them looking at the pictures. No, we don't, right? And we also don't want them using eagle eye to look at the picture. We want them to look at the word. So start with pointy porcupine. Pointy porcupine says point to the word. We want to focus on the word. Point to the word. They use their finger and point to the word. Then they want to be grapheme guppy. Turn into grapheme guppy. What are the letters in the word? That's an H, that's an O, that's an M, and that's an E. Good. Now we're going to turn into phoneme frog because phoneme frog talks about the sounds and he's going to hop on the sounds, right? But that's when you can do a quick little mini lesson because they haven't learned CVCE words yet. So that's a quick minute mini lesson because what that's doing is it's planting a seed for what's to come. If every single solitary word in our decodable books is decodable, especially at the beginning when they've only got CVC words and short vowels and consonant sounds, right? Our decodables are going to be boring as all heck and they're going to be so contrived, right? And we've got to give them a foundation of some high frequency words. So the first prompt, we are not looking at the picture. Get rid of eagle eye and you're not looking at the picture anymore. Number 2, we are not going to just get our lips ready to say the word like lips to fish. It's not a bad one. Get your lips ready, get your mouth ready to say the sounds. It's not a bad one, but let's move to better ones. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to be pointy porcupine, we point to the words. We're going to be grapheme guppy, and we're going to say what each letter is, H-O-M-E, and then we're going to turn into phoneme frog, and we are going to hop on the sounds and say the sounds of the words to figure it out. Those are the prompts that we want. So the first cue in that cueing system was look at the picture to figure out the word. No, that's where the whole concept of guessing comes. We're not guessing words. We're looking at words and we're decoding words. Number 2, we don't want to figure out a word that makes sense there and guess a word that makes sense based on the context of the sentence. Yes, it does show comprehension of the sentence and contextual reading, but it's not what we want them to do. We want them to read the word that's on the page, not just some other word you created, right? So that is the second cue we want to get rid of. Now, the third cue in the cueing systems and the 3 cueing systems was the visual cue. And many people thought the visual cueing system or the visual cue was about looking at the picture, but it's actually not. The visual cue was about looking at the letters in the word. That's what the V stands for in MSV. It stands for visual, but not visual meaning the picture. It means look at the letters in the word. What we want to do is get rid of MSV altogether. I agree. Let's just get rid of it. Let's just focus on some new decoding strategies that focus on the words so children can read the words on the page and not use other strategies to figure out words. That's where the whole guessing comes into play. That's when people say that it's teaching children to guess words. Yeah, it is. It's teaching children to guess words by looking at the picture and by putting another word there that would make sense contextually. So that is guessing. It used to really fire me up when I would say, I never taught my kids how to guess. No, I didn't. I always made them look at the word. I didn't typically say, look at the picture. It was not something that I typically did, but I did say, look at the word. Let's focus on that word. Let's try and sound it out. But maybe they couldn't sometimes because they didn't know the code. Of course, depending on the reader I was working with, right? Because I taught second grade forever. For 24 years, I taught second grade. So many of my students were reading on and above grade level, but I always had typically 3 to 5 students in my class that were reading way below grade level. So for those students, I absolutely used decodable books for years and years and years and years. I may not have had a very structured and explicit scope and sequence, which is what will be in one of my next videos coming up. But I definitely told them to focus on words because I knew phonics was so important. So I always get a little angry when I see that, on social media. You're teaching kids to guess words. I'm like, what? I never taught a kid to guess words. But this is what we're talking about. So Video number 2, this little shift we could make is shifting your prompts when you're teaching children to read. Shift the prompts. Get rid of look at the picture, get rid of what makes sense, and really get rid of the V part, which is the visual. Just start with visuals. Start with the words. Start with the letters on the page, the graphemes and the phonemes. That's where you start and where it ends. It's about the word on the page to solve the word they don't know. That's how they will learn the code. That's how they'll master the code. We don't want just exposure to the code. We want mastery of the code. So let's change our language. Let's get rid of the 3 cueing systems. Let's move away from MSV, and let's start using some new prompts for our students. You can, of course, use the ones I made up. So I always like to do things that make it a little bit more interesting and fun. You know, it helps when you're dealing with 6 and 7-year-olds or 5, 6, and 7-year-olds. It helps to make things cute and fun. So I created these. They're decoding fans. So start with pointy porcupine. Pointy porcupine tells you to point to the word because we want them focusing on the word. Then they're going to be grapheme guppy. We want to swim under those graphemes and say what the graphemes are. H-O-M-E. Those are graphemes. We want to label them. We want to know what they are. Then you want to move to phoneme frog. And we want to hop on the phonemes and say the phonemes. There are more, and I'll get to them as we go. But I'll do a very quick example. We've got syllable slug where we slide through the words and focus on syllables. We could use this one just a little bit later, especially when they know more of the code, and it will really, really help when you come to multisyllabic words. So we could talk more about syllable slug in a later video. We have blending bluebird. So blending bluebird is now telling you to fly through those phonemes. Fly through the phonemes as you blend them together and you are being graceful. So we have phoneme frog, now fly through it, home, and blend them together. Be graceful about it. I called it blending bluebird. And then we have say it sloth. So say the word slowly, home, like kind of stretching it out, kind of like stretchy snake. But I called it saying sloth because sloths are my favorite. And then we've got check it cheetah. And check it cheetah says say the word quickly and then read the sentence again. So we said home. We know it's home. Now let's read the sentence again to see if it makes sense. This is a home for Pat. Did that word make sense there? That word home, we were stuck on it. Did it make sense? Yes, it did. So these are the decoding strategies that you can use to start changing your prompts and get away from the 3 cueing systems and use more decoding prompts in your instruction. And that's it. That's it from me today, my friends. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope that you can find ways to share it with your other teacher friends, share it on social. The more eyes we get on this, the better. All right. So video number 1 was about moving and shifting our instruction to just very easily bringing in decodable readers instead of levels A through F-ish level readers. Let's use decodables. Shift 2 was let's change our language. Let's change our cues and our prompts to move to decoding prompts and not pictures and all these the 3 cueing systems. Let's get rid of the 3 cueing and let's change our vocabulary and our prompts to focus on the words on the page. That's what we're doing. So shift 1 and shift 2, small, easy changes you can make in your instruction tomorrow that will start to see incremental change in your students that will reap huge results. And that's the goal. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in video 3, the next one, on implementing the science of reading research into your classroom methodically, systematically, without the overwhelm. Thanks for watching, friends. I'll see you in the next one.